This is Radar from the Red Table Blog coming at you with week number 3 of the MLB Hotstove offseason observations and recap from the end of the 2023 season going into the 2024. Due to some technical things, I'm going to be actually reading off to you notes that I did by hand, and I'm not joking. That is what I did. So first things first, Tristan Gray's gone to the Marlins on a minor league deal. Eduardo Salazar is going to the Dodgers. Yanni Hernandez is going to the Brewers. Mike Kelly and Daz Cameron, the son of Mike Cameron, is going to the A's. Maybe he'll get a chance to play. Vidal Brujan, the former infielder and outfielder of the Rays, has been traded to the Marlins with Calvin Funcher for Eric Lara and Andrew Lindsay. Wondering what Miami does with him. Austin Cox or Wells are in for assignment. But then between him, Luis Cessa, and Logan Porter and Diego Hernandez, they all signed a minor deal with Kansas City. And Luis Cessa stands out because Luis Cessa could eat innings for them as a reliever or as a starting pitcher. That's a good move there. Anoli Paredes and Jared Cohen signed a minor deal with the Brewers. Austin Dean is staying in the KBO. Tish Ennis is going to the KBO. And Mason McCoy is going to the Padres. And Henry De Los Santos is going to the Yankees. Oswaldo Bido is going to the A's. Gilbert Celestino, the former Twins outfielder, is going to the Pirates. Spencer Turnbull earned an extra year of service, so that's good for him. Chad Witham re-signed a minor deal with the Braves. Wilkin Rodriguez going to St. Louis. Patrick Murphy is going to the Japanese League. Ryan Jansen was DFA'd for assignment. Yunel Diaz has gone to the Giants. Casey Kelly re-signs in KBO. Justin Anderson signed a minor deal with the White Sox. Does not really matter much. Austin Slater and Yaz are officially re-signed with the Giants for the next year. That's literally their center fielder and their guy who should be DHing. Austin Meadows, though, and Spencer Turnbull, and Austin Nola, Brandon Woodruff, Roddy Tellez, Nick Senzel, and Daniel Vogelbach were all non-tendered officially as the big name guys. Vogelbach, I didn't understand that because he's a great first base DH for the Brewers, but they went and got Jake Bauers, so he's expendable. The Reds, as I went over this, why Joey Votto was cut. They don't have enough room for infielders, so like Spencer Steer, who was their leader run producer, was out there playing the outfield and second base when the dude is a first baseman, third baseman. So obviously there's no room for Nick Senzel on this team, and he hasn't been healthy. Daniel Vogelbach, similar to Roddy Tellez, but Vogelbach is more suited just to be a DH. The Mets understand that. They had a bad year. They just want to get rid of people. Brandon Woodruff is injured. That makes sense for Milwaukee. San Diego had a losing season, so they want to start over at catcher. So Nola's obviously gone. And the Tigers, obviously, Meadows is battling mental health issues, but also regular injuries, and so does Spencer Turnbull, so that makes sense. Kyle Wright was traded to Kansas City for Jackson Coward, but literally the Braves are like, he's not going to pitch for another season. Yeah, he's under contract, but we don't need him. Scott Barlow of the Royals was traded to Cleveland for Enes De Los Santos. Surprised Barlow got, only that for him, but it's whatever. Lou Trevino and Albert Abreu were also non-tendered by the Yankees. Makes sense. Lou Trevino was injured a lot. Luis Urias was traded to the Mariners for the guy named Campbell. Well, he wasn't that healthy for the Red Sox, and he wasn't healthy in general in his career so far, so it kind of makes sense the Mariners get a guy who could either play second base for them or third base. The Angels officially have hired Jared Aaron to be the catching coach and Johnny Washington be the hitting coach. I'm glad Jared Aaron has the job. Nice guy. When I spoke to him when he worked for the White Sox, longtime major leaguer and longtime manager and coach, so that's good for him. Apparently, with the new hiring of Craig Counsell, there was no room for Andy Green, so he's now going to be Mets player development role because he needed a job with the new coaching staff. Kip Gross is now the new Mets amateur scouting director. Congratulations to him. Cubs did announce that Tommy Howdevoy, the pitching coach, former Major League pitcher, and Dustin Kelly, the hitting coach, they're staying. So that's staying put there. Aaron Nola with the biggest contract so far. He signed a 7-year, $172 million deal. That surprisingly doesn't have a trade clause, but he gets $1 million if he's traded by a certain time. If he gets an All-Star Game appearance, a Cy Young award, wherever he finishes in the MVP voting, the NLCS, and the World Series MVP, those are incentives. So that's a lot of money for a guy who, frankly, sometimes Zach Wheeler was the ace of that rotation. But they're busy paying Bryce Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, and Zach Wheeler all that money. So they're no stranger to spending money. Like, was it them or the Padres owner that said spending money stupidly? So if I were them, I'd be like, you know what? That's fine. They want to keep their core intact. They made the playoffs this year. They didn't get to the World Series, but they made the playoffs after going to the NLCS and the World Series like the previous year. So they think they have something in place. And if the Phillies want to pay their own guy that they know more about his medical record and anything else, that's on them. That's just a lot of money for him. But it is what it is. The Yamamoto dudes have falsely been posted, and you spotted at a Lakers game. So that Braves, after getting rid of Kyle Wright and Nicky Lopez and Soroka and Nick Anderson, they got rid of so many players because they're trying to clear money off the books after a disappointing postseason. Well, they went and spent $30 million on Ronaldo Lopez, who, when the White Sox got him, supposed to be this talented starting pitcher who had all the skills, but he couldn't just get, put it all together. And obviously the White Sox down Cooper and Ethan Katz couldn't fix it. So the White Sox made him reliever, and there were times where he was good as a middle relief pitcher, but times he was bad as a closer. So that's a lot of money for a middle relief pitcher when they had a few middle relief pitchers who I don't know how much they were making, but you could have actually just kept him, that sort of thing. But hey, he got a home. He's one of the first free agents to sign. Take the money. While Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn are both going to St. Louis. Lance Lynn is reuniting with the Cardinals while Kyle Gibson is joining. I was like, well, if Mikolas is still in their contract and Dakota Hudson is, they have to fill in 3 spots. But apparently it's just going to be Mikolas. More on that later. So just literally you're going to need Kyle Gibson to do what he's done his whole entire career, which is eat innings. While Lance Lynn does the same thing. You can count him when he's healthy to pitch 200 innings at least. So the Cardinals are not going to be great, but they're going to at least get 2 guys to fill in innings who are career guys who do that. Fresno has retired Aaron Judge as number 29, so congratulations to him. The Yankees, to replace Carlos Mendoza, have hired Brad Ausmus to be the bench coach. I'm happy for him, but I don't know if I'm going to have a chance to meet him because I missed out when he was on the A's. While the Cardinals have hired Daniel Descalso, the former Cardinals utility player who played for Team Italy, to be the bench coach. Joe McEwing is going to be working in the front office, which means he probably won't be ever on the coaching staff, which stinks because he remembers me. He's a nice guy. But again, Daniel Descalso, I always liked that guy, so it'll be cool to meet him. Mike Schilt has been hired as the Padres manager, so no Benji Gill, no Phil Nevin, who used to play there, no Adrian Gonzalez, who was interviewed, and obviously Ryan Flaherty, who's been on the coaching staff and worked for the Padres for a while now. One of my favorite guys, he's not hired. I don't know what Padres fans are going to feel because Mike Schilt is up there. It's not like he's old, but he's also not young. But he also should not have been fired from the Cardinals when he was the manager. It was kind of a quick leash to fire him to get Oliver Marmol because things haven't gone that great since Mike Schilt has left. I think he was the manager when I was there a couple of years ago when they're on that huge 20-something game winning streak. So I don't know how it's going to work for the Padres, but yep. Angels have also hired Tim Laker to be the offensive coordinator, which I guess they're taking football terms. And Barry Enright, the former Diamondbacks pitcher and Diamondbacks coach, is now going to be the pitching coach. So I know that guy. I remember talking to him every time they've come to town. But that's Arizona. So how often is that? So obviously with the Angels it'll be more often. And Bessie Baker is giving him a chance to get a promotion. That's good. And Jared Brewer is Banner, is now assistant GM of the Cubs. Congratulations to him. The Mets have hired Antron Richardson and Mike Saburo will be the first base and third base coach. Mark Saburo has been working with Cleveland as the third base coach. So the Mets, I don't know why Carlos Mendoza couldn't just keep Joey Cora, but it is what it is. And John Gibbons is going to be the Mets bench coach. If everyone remembers this, he played for the Mets as a catcher briefly first couple of years of his career, and he won the World Series with them as a backup. He managed the Blue Jays in 2 separate stints and has coached in other places. So they're trying to give Mendoza a guy on the bench, which we usually do, who has major league experience. So do you know what? That's a good move. There were rumors of Willie Randolph, and there were rumors of, Brad Ausmus and some other guys, but whatever it was, there were rumors of other people, including Willie Randolph. And they went with that choice as well, but Willie Randolph could still actually be on the staff in an undetermined role, but, that's cool. I know who John Gibbons is. I have a baseball card of him as a manager. I got to find it. But, yeah, that's cool. And the way the MLB trade rumors did this, it was Zevi Zavala has been traded with this Carlos Vargas dude who's a relief pitcher for Eugenio Suarez, my guy Gino. it should have been the headline is the Diamondbacks acquired former All-Star third baseman Suarez, who if he's playing third base in a full season, he's good defensively and he can hit like 30, 40 home runs. The experiment the Reds did with him at shortstop, because he played shortstop like 1,000 years ago, gave him one of his worst offensive years. He could definitely drive in 100 runs. Because obviously, Evan Longoria was a third baseman, but that was just a good veteran presence to have on the bench. They traded away Josh Rojas, so Chase Peterson's a utility guy. So this may solve the problem when they get a veteran third baseman who can bat in the middle of the lineup and play solid defense and a good clubhouse presence. That's a good move. The Mariners just looks like Tom Murphy's not coming back as back catcher. Zevi Zavala lives again. Before being the White Sox third-string catcher, he got traded to Arizona, and he was the third-string catcher there. The Texas Rangers had 61 shares over 506, 263. So that's a lot. That makes a lifetime fortune for some of the people that work for the team. While the Diamondbacks had 71 shares of 313,634. And lastly, before I get to other news, the White Sox have signed Paul DeJong. Like, that is great. That's really good news, because with Tim Anderson being designated for assignment, I'm happy. Like, really happy about that. Like, I really, really, really am. You know. And, because we talked about this last week, because this happened last Thursday or Friday. Aaron Bummer was traded, so the White Sox already have Nicky Lopez. So, Nicky Lopez is not an everyday player. Unless the White Sox want to go with him every day at second base and we get a quality offensive player with the pitchers that we got. Now, getting Paul DeJong is a good move because he somewhat rebounded this year, enough for St. Louis to flip him to Toronto. Yeah, it didn't really work out with Toronto because they were kind of desperate. Bo Bichette missed a couple weeks, but he kind of turned around a little bit with the Giants. The White Sox just asked Paul DeJong to play shortstop and bat at the bottom of the lineup. He's a lot younger than Elvis Andrus. He's a lot more healthy as a player than Tim Anderson is, and he's a much better defensive player than Tim Anderson. So, 1 year rebound thing. If he doesn't rebound, it's done after 1 year. But I get to see this guy finally play for my team, because when I met him before, he's a very nice guy. So there's that. Now then, that was all the Major League Baseball like official moves that I wrote down on the sheet of paper, except for a couple things. So the Diamondbacks unveiled their new jerseys. Well, the thing that I have a problem is that they are really like green. It's like green undertones under the black or the white or the red, and it's just, a little bit too much, because we don't need, I love green, but you don't need green undertones underneath the Diamondback A and the black jerseys or the red jerseys or the white jerseys or the gray jerseys. And it's even on the hats that have the A or the snake. Not a huge fan of that. The other American League non-tenders that weren't big-time people were quickly Cooper Wright by the Rays, Mike Ford, the slugging first baseman, DH, the Yankees, Anthony Mishkowicz, the Twins, Giovanni Moran and Ronnie Hernandez, while the Angels, Josh Marte, Red Sox, Wyatt Mills. The Rangers also did Matt Bush and Brett Martin. These guys have been around the block. The Royals with Diego Hernandez, Austin Cox, who I mentioned, re-signed, Logan Porter, and Josh Stallman, who each guy was traded. The A's did that with Kevin Smith. The Blue Jays did it with Submariner Adam Simber, which I thought was interesting. The Giants did it with Thomas Sapowski, Jose Cruz, and Cole Waits. And the Braves did it to Chirinos, the swing guy they got at the deadline. Kobe Allard, who came back after being a top prospect, then Penn Murphy, Angel Perdomo, who's bounced around, Michael Tonkin, who's been around the block, Chadwick Thomp, who I mentioned, re-signed a minor league deal, and, Luke Williams as well, the utility guy. The Reds with Derek Law, Rivers, Sear Martin, and we mentioned Senzel. For the Brewers, we mentioned Tellez and Woodruff, but they did it to J.C. Mejia, who had tested positive for PED. Diamondbacks did it to Kyle Lewis, who didn't play that many games for them all season when they traded for him. What's new? Cubs did it to relievers Ethan Roberts, Brandon Hughes, and Cody Hoyer. Cody Hoyer's always injured. Rockies did it to Tommy Doyle. Cardinals did it to backup catcher Andrew Kinsler, so they need a new backup. Juan Yepes, the corner infield who should be playing DH, not the outfield. Jake Woodford, who is a starting pitcher, and I mentioned Dakota Hudson. I don't know what they're doing. With him and Jordan Hicks, before they trade Jordan Hicks, they were just in the bullpen, not closing and not starting, like in their starting pitchers. I didn't know what they were doing with them. So they should have been smart and kept up Hudson. But now, by signing Gibson and Lance Lynn, they still got to fill two spots. Mets said goodbye to Brigham and Sam Cooner and Trevor Gott. Brigham and Cotta been around the block. And utility man Vogelbach, who was like a fan favorite, they got rid of him because they can get utility guys for cheap. Phillies did it with Josh Fleming. The Marlins said goodbye to their starting catcher. And Jacob Stallings is a good defensive catcher, but he can't hit. So that they made sense there. And Garrett Hampson's utility guy, so that makes sense. Pirates did Osvaldo Bido, Hunter Stratton. The Nationals said goodbye to Corey Abbott, and we talked about Dominic Smith earlier on, so that, is there. And with the Padres, we mentioned Nola, but it was Taylor Coley, pitcher Tim Hill, and Espada. So that's who they got rid of. And then the players avoiding arbitration were Sam Hillard and Ryan McKenna and Keegan Aiton and Mateo of the Orioles. We mentioned Yastrzemski, Yancy Almonte of the Dodgers, Barecki and the Pirates, Jalen Beeks with the Rockies, who they just claimed off waivers. Cubs kept Patrick Wisdom. The Mets kept DJ Stewart, but not Daniel Vogelbach. Because, again, both those guys can DH. Phillies are keeping a reject pitcher, Dylan Covey, backup catcher, Garrett Stubbs, and backup outfielder, Jake Term. Makes sense. The White Sox did it with Matt Foster because they're hoping that when he comes back for Tommy John surgery, he'll pick up where he left off as a solid reliever. Royals did it with Josh Taylor. The A's, who just picked up Andujar and Turo, two corner infielders. And we mentioned Austin Slater of the Giants. Zach Britton is one of the last things I'm going to get to. He announced his retirement at age 35, but that's the thing. He's had Tommy John surgery a few times. When he signed a 3-year deal with the Orioles back in 2013, they picked up his option, but again, he missed most of 2001 because of injuries in 2022, so this year, as a free agent, he's like, you know what, I'm done. But on his mantle, he could say, I have 2 All-Star appearances, I won reliever of the year, and led the league in save. And I was a pretty good dominant relief pitcher with the Orioles and the Yankees back when they had Chapman, either Betances or Robertson, and they had a 3-headed bullpen. He and Brian Mattis both were young starting pitcher with the Orioles, but guess what? One of them became reliever, and he saved 154 games in his career, had 532 strikeouts, a 3.13 ERA, and he had a winning record of 35-26. So it's not bad to finish career on a winning record with an ERA under 4 and 154 saves. So happy trails to him. He did convert 60 straight saves, which was an American League record. And rest in peace, finally, thanks for listening on the Radar Entertainment blog. Week 3 of the MLB observations of 2023 regular season into the 2024 offseason, Hotstove Edition Week 3. I'm going to finish off with this. Rest in peace to Willie Hernandez. The former relief pitcher has passed away at 69, who in his life has battled asthma and diabetes and had multiple strokes and had heart surgery in the past. One of his last major public appearances in 2019 when he got the first pitch for them. He said he was, passed away in his home, and because he's from Puerto Rico, they're sending him back there. He finished with a win-loss record of 70-63, a 3.30 ERA, 788 strikeouts, and again, 147 saves, not bad. For a former Cubs pitcher who, wasn't, the best starting pitcher, they made him reliever. He had an all-right career with the Cubs. He was the setup man and Bruce Sutter during those years. Then he was in the Phillies in 1 year. But then for a 3-year period, 1984, 1986, he was a 3-time All-Star with the Tigers. And in 84, he won the Cy Young and the MVP in the World Series Championship. Crazy to think a relief pitcher could win not just the Cy Young, which has happened a few times, but also the MVP. And that's when the Tigers won the World Series. So he had a very good career for like a 5 or 6 year period with the Tigers. So for him, nice career, but sad to lose someone. Again, at 69. Rest in peace, Willie Hernandez. Thank you for listening on the Radar. This was Week 3. See you guys next time.